First of all, I appreciate everybody being here. We're here for two reasons. Because of a very extremely tragic incident that has occurred, but on the other side of the coin, a conclusion to that tragedy. As all of you are well aware, last Thursday, March 30th, we received a call near Forest Lakes Park, where our first victim, Layla Silvernail, was located suffering from a gunshot wound. She would later succumb to her injuries. The following morning, we responded to a location about a half a mile away and located a second victim deceased on the side of the road from an apparent gunshot wound. Then on Saturday, April 1st, my deputies located Layla's car abandoned and partially submerged in a pond about 9 miles from the location where she was found. My investigators located the third victim inside of the car. And I'll go ahead and tell you, because you've been asking me for specific details. She was located in the trunk. Now, I want to clear up before we get into those details. Based on the interviews, digital evidence from her phone, she was there of her own free will. Now, I'm going to start off by thanking all of the entities. If there's ever a true example of law enforcement, communities coming together, and a almost perfect collaboration to come to a conclusion in a week on a triple homicide, is truly amazing. Those entities include the FBI, FDLE, U.S. Marshal's Office, and, in my opinion, probably the best state attorney in the state of Florida for the 5th Judicial Circuit, Bill Gladson's assistant state attorneys. OPD, my deputies, detectives, forensic professionals, and our citizens, who are truly amazing. Now, this one's going to come a shock to you. That includes you, the media. You helped us of getting information. My emotions right now are all over the place because I am so proud of my guys and girls. I didn't do a damn thing, but they stepped up to the plate. And yes, you put information out there, and I'll admit this, you wore my ass out of interviews, you hounded me, but don't ever think I didn't use you as well to get the information I needed. Now, the investigators were able to determine that this group of juveniles were involved in committing burglaries and robberies, which they referred to as a lick. Now, although we had out there that was gang related, we have nothing specific to say that it was any rivalry or anything to such that cause. But however, each and every one of them, in some shape or form, is associated with a gang. Basically, simple terms, there is no honor among thieves. And at some point, these three individuals turned on our three victims and murdered them. Two of them right there. They fled the scenes, but left a lot of evidence in their wake. Through the cooperation of the agencies that I previously mentioned and my office, we were able to begin compiling all of the evidence and finding these killers. Now, we were shocked and saddened by the violence, as all of my citizens, because we are shocked not only are the victims juveniles, but the murderers are juveniles as well. I know each of you in the media here and viewers out there probably heard us in law enforcement or even in community events talk about what is the problem. And I'm going to go ahead and address the first thing that I know it's going to come up. Because there are individuals out there viewing, and to include some of you media, that want to blame the one thing that has no ability or the capacity to commit the crime itself. And that's the gun. These individuals committed the crime. Now, what's the solution? I wish I could give you that answer, because this world would be a whole lot better. But the fact is, society fails it. We do not hold our juveniles accountable. We minimize their actions. And let me tell you why I say this. Last night, I had to stare into the eyes of two mothers. It's not their fault. Because what I saw last night was two mothers who are willing to give their sons everything. Do everything for them and give them their own lives. But just like you and I, no matter how much we teach them, because I am a father, I am a father, and I cannot fathom what they were going through. These mothers and mothers across this nation need all of your help. Because here's what infuriates me. I've got a particular media who has a problem with putting photos of juveniles out. Now, we do it what the law says we can do. Put these photos out. I put myself in the shoes of those mothers because I heard one of them say it. I wish I would have known what this one was doing and who they were, because my kid never would have hung out with them. And to think and believe to minimize any actions that is criminal of a juvenile is a disservice, and frankly, stupid to think. We need to hold them accountable. And then hope that we can change them. I'm not going to be able to give you everything because there is a third suspect that we were unable to locate last night. But however, you will receive, you may already have it, the probable cause affidavit that tells you the details of the events that occurred. I will tell you this. I already told you of the witness hearing the gunshots. That is when all three were killed. The suspects were in the vehicle. This individual, who is a juvenile also, is who we're looking for. Now, I'm talking to the viewers. Some of you know him, you know where he is, and you need to turn him in. Now, I will get him. I will find him, and justice will be completed. As you can imagine, my thoughts are all over this page right now. Fighting these type of crimes requires all of us to come together as a community. And Marion County stepped up to the plate. And we've been successful. Now, I know I've forgotten something, and I'm missing something, so I'm going to open up the floor to questions.
Any type of motive given?
Mentioned it. Robbery.
Sheriff Woods,
Go to her first.
I want to clarify. I know you said the suspects were in the vehicle. So are you saying all 6 were in there at one time?
Yes, ma'am.
And so the 3 individuals, the 2 that are in custody, and this person, they turned on the other 3 in the vehicle, and that's how this unfolded.
That's correct.
In the commission of a robbery of the 3 victims?
Not going to get into too many more of those details because of the third suspect being out.
Sheriff Woods, Ted Williams with Fox News. Did the suspects and the 3 dead teens, have you been able to determine how long they've known each other?
Not entirely short time.
Short time?
Sheriff, you mentioned the gun. Do we know how the suspect got a hold of the weapon?
Car burglaries. Yeah. Ain't that right? All the gun laws we got in place didn't prevent it, did it? Neither will any new ones. Because here's the fact. The bad guy is going to get a gun no matter what law you have put in place. These juveniles shouldn't even possess a handgun. But they did. And I'll go back to you. Add your question. A simple burglary, as some people will say, but I don't consider anything simple when it comes to a burglary. The law allows me, I'll plaster their face up on this page, up on my page, up on media. I will hand it out if the law allows me, because parents have the right to know who their kids are hanging out with and preventing this.
What did the suspect's parents say when you spoke with them about their arrest?
I personally didn't speak to them about the arrest. It was immediately after the interviews in which I talked to the mothers. But really, they don't have a whole lot to say. If you're a parent, put yourself in their shoes. Holy hell. Panic. I'm scared to death as a parent. Embarrassed. Ashamed. What do you think they're going to say?
Sheriff Woods, do you know if these 3 juveniles will be tried as adults?
All right, State Attorney's Office is reviewing that right now, okay? So I don't want to say yes and then it turn around no, then you'll end up calling me a liar at some point. So,
What does to kind of piggyback off that, so what does accountability look like for you? I know you talked about juveniles being held accountable for their actions.
I will refrain an awful lot on that answer to this question, to the full extent of the law. Okay, don't take me wrong. I might be hard on people, but I also have a heart. And I've already told you, I am a father. But here's the one thing my boys know. Growing up, the freaking barber had my permission to whip their asses. And not only that, when this stuff came up on TV, I pointed him. I said, you don't have to worry about the law coming after you. Full extent. Because they took a life. Are y'all comprehending that? They took a life without thought. They deserved the full extent of the law.
Had you come in contact with these teens before? Because I see the pictures. Are these mugshots from previous incidents?
I personally haven't, but have we? Minimum contact. I can tell you right now. I know somebody over here had a question.
Sure.
Andy?
Do I understand correctly that the 3 victims were an active part of crimes prior to their deaths with these 3? Is that correct?
I don't want to give too much detailed information, okay? But let me put it this way. My dad was a fireman. Always said, where there's smoke, there's fire, okay? Folks, don't ask dumbass questions. And Andy, I apologize. But really? Do I have to spell it out to you? What do you think they were doing? They're associated with a gang, and I've told some of y'all in interviews, gangs don't go to church on Sunday and then preach the gospel for the next 6 days. They're gangs because they commit crimes. How simple is this idea? Where are we losing it? And I know we're going long, but this is my press conference, not yours.
Sheriff,
Yes.
If all 6 were committing crimes, do you know why the 3 turned on the other 3?
I can't divulge that. I wish I could tell you. I'll tell you when we get this one. Okay? Listen, I want to tell you everything. I really do. And since day one, I've wanted to tell you anything. They have had a leash on me like you wouldn't believe. Next. Let's get somebody new.
Do we know the timeline of the 3 victims in terms of how they were shot? Was it all at once? And then?
Hold back on that one.
Hold back.
Okay.
You heard the bosses.
Yes, sir.
Do you know how they were apprehended? Were they hanging out somewhere? How were you able to catch up with them?
Do you want to? Go ahead.
The one subject on the previous photo, Rob Robinson, was in custody already at the juvenile detention facility. And the Christopher Atkins, the 12-year-old, we located him at his house yesterday after serving a search warrant.
So they weren't on the run or anything. Were they even surprised to even see you show up?
Yes, they were very surprised we showed up.
Are you able to make any statements as to what they said?
I'll leave that to the sheriff.
No, you'll get that eventually. We told you he was in DJJ. He was arrested by OPD the next morning after the murder.
What were the charges on that?
I believe it was a form of a fray at the school.
And an affray at the school. Oh, that's what I call a light bulb coming on right there. Remember I just talked about minimizing and holding students accountable? Our school districts, not just here, I'm not going to point out just mine, school districts across this state and across this nation need to quit minimizing the actions of their students. Hold them accountable. That's where the failure is.
Do we know where the last suspect was seen?
The last place he was seen.
We're going to hold that one.
Did all 3 have guns, or was it just one gun? And which one pulled the trigger? Do we know that?
All right. Some of that I'm not going to answer.
Okay.
Some of it I will. The one I will is the 2 confessed to shooting our 3rd victim in the trunk.
How many guns were involved?
I'm not going to answer that one. I appreciate your questions. You wouldn't be doing your job if you didn't ask. Any others?
Sheriff, is the 3rd suspect, does the public need to worry about him?
No, the community doesn't need to worry about them outside of, I want them to find them. That's what they need to worry about, is locating him for me. And they do. If you ain't ever watched my Wanted by Woods Wednesday, that's successful and they find them. I'll allow one more.
Are these juveniles all students at the same school?
No.